Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Rank, where I climb the online VGC 17 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. We're just gonna jump into things, still using the exact same Trick Room team that we featured a couple of episodes, and also of course the one that we kind of built in the team builder video. So I've been playing a couple of games off screen just to practice a little bit for the London International and to try out a bunch of things. So my rating is kind of a little bit lower, but we are going to find Pumpkin from Italy with a rating of 1492 to kick off this first episode. As always, if you enjoy Road to Rank, please share your support by leaving a like in the video. I would really appreciate it. And if you haven't checked out my Pelipper individual analysis, definitely go check that out, because I'm starting to do individual analyses for a lot of basically top Pokemon in VGC 17. So looking forward to that series. Anyway, my opponent Pumpkins here has a team of Tapu Bulu, Drompa, Oranguru, Celesteela, Alolan Ninetales, and Alolan Marowak. So a pretty interesting team all around. First thing I noticed is like he does have the Ninetales, so that does give Torkoal some trouble. So I can't just, freely spam Eruption all the way around, but I don't know. Lilligant Torkoal is still not a bad lead here, because my opponent only has two Pokemon that can resist fire types, and that's Drompa and Alolan Marowak, and both those Pokemon are really slow outside of Trick Room. So he's going to have to try to get Trick Room up, or just use those Pokemon outside of Trick Room. For that reason, I'm not going to bring Tapu Bulu into this matchup, actually. Instead, I'm going to go with Salamence and Drompa here, I think. And I think Double Dragon's pretty solid here, because one, as we saw, Drompa actually outspeeds Alolan Marowak if Trick Room is up, and if Trick Room isn't up, then my Salamence can just outspeed his two Trick Room users. Salamence is actually a really big deal here as well. With access to Fire-type attacks as well, it can effectively one-hit knock out 4 of the 6 Pokemon on my opponent's team. So, looking forward to this match, I think. I like my team matchup here for sure, but, always gotta expect the unexpected. And I am still going with Lilligant Torkoal, because Torkoal is gonna be the slower Pokemon between Torkoal and Ninetales, so I'm guaranteed Sun up this first turn, and my opponent wants to get rid of the Sun. He's going to have to switch into Ninetales, which, obviously can't take Eruptions very well. So, we'll see if my opponent brought anything to stop this lead. It's going to be Ninetales and Oranguru. Wow, that's pretty perfect for me, actually. Because, yeah, Torkoal, like I mentioned, is a slower Pokemon, and Weather is based off speed. So, instead, Sun will just go up here, which is pretty much perfect. So, I think I'm honestly just going to After You Eruption here. I could Sleep Powder as well. Actually, I think Sleep Powdering is more ideal. There's no need to After You. Maybe. Because the main thing here is I think Ninetales is going to switch out, and Oranguru is going to try to set up Trick Room. So let's see what I have in the back. Drompa. I could also switch into Drompa, or Sleep Powder the Ninetales slot. But I think Sleep Powdering Oranguru and the reason why I don't want to Eruption is because he could just go for a Psychic. But I don't think Ninetales can really damage me that much. But just in case, I'm going to go for the Heat Wave here. So let's see if there's a switch out, and whether my opponent goes for attacks or not. Okay, Ninetales will switch out, yeah. Oh, Marowak? Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. So if I hit the Sleep Powder, I'm in a really good position, but I miss it. What else is new? No worries. Okay. And Trick Room's gonna go up, yeah. That's okay. Yeah, that's fine. I'm definitely Sleep Powdering onto Marowak and protecting Torkoal. So, now with Trick Room up, basically, I could get a free switch into Drompa if Lilligant goes down. I do have the Focus Sash here. I think it's likely that Marowak is going to want to attack, and we're going to see an Instruct come out. And we do see Boomerang. Yeah, perfect. Going into Torkoal. Oh, actually going for the taunt there. That was not something I was expecting. That's a good play. That's fine. That's okay, because I'm actually going to bring in Salamence now for the Intimidate. And I'm going to be the fastest Pokemon. I guess he could go for the... I might actually double switch here. Yeah. So I'm actually going to switch into Drompa and switch into Salamence. The reason why I'm pulling this double switch is because now I get the Intimidate off. I think it's highly likely Oranguru is going to Instruct Marowak, and Salamence and Drompa have a very decent matchup against Torkoal and, Alolan Marowak and Oranguru, whereas Torkoal could feign to just Instructed Boomerang. I could have Eruption there, but I wasn't sure if it was going to pick up the KO there onto Oranguru. I think it would have come really close, but I didn't want to take a risk, and I think now Drampa is going to outspeed. He actually goes for the Flare Blitz, but yeah, that's why I made the switches in the spots they did. Double Dragon, it still does a pretty fair amount there, but he's going to take Recoil. Yeah, almost bringing it down to under 50%. And, oh, he has Life Orb as well, so he is going to fall under 50%. And we are just going to see a Psychic come out onto the Torkoal slot. Cool. That works pretty nicely here, I would say. And this allows me to just double Draco Meteor here. I'm not sure if Dragon Pulse would pick up the KO, which is why I'm going for the Draco. He could switch into Ninetales, honestly, but that's fine because I've still got the Torkoal in the back, and Ninetales really can't do anything against Torkoal. So, yeah, rely on Sleep Powder, not very good. And I didn't, hit it in the first turn. But I knew it was like, okay, even if he sets up Trick Room and brings in Marowak, one of the reasons why I like Torkoal so much is because, you have the Sun mode where after you just basically makes it really fast, but you also have Trick Room where it's like, if Trick Room goes up, then you're still the slowest Pokemon. Marowak's actually switching out. It's going to be Celesteela coming in, okay. So good switching by my opponent. I could have used a Fire type attack on that slot. So Drampla's Draco is not going to do too much damage, but pretty good to see Celesteela, because with Celesteela, Ninetales in for my opponent, like, this endgame should be just basically Torkoal sweeping through. Oranguru is going to go for a Psychic onto Salamence again. That's fine. And Draco disconnect, which should pick up the knockout, hopefully. And then this puts my opponent in a tricky position where it's like, okay, now you either bring in your Ninetales, meaning you have to bring the Hail back up, and that means a free switch into Torkoal, or you bring in the Marowak, which is just going to be KO'd by Draco Meteor. So I like my position right now. There's a good switch in there for sure, though. I considered Flamethrowering, because I knew already he had a Ninetales in the back, but wasn't sure if Flamethrower would pick up the knockout. And it is Marowak coming back in, cool. So that works fine with me. Because now what I'm going to do is just Draco into that slot, and switch out. Let me actually count how many turns of Trick Room left. I believe there are 2, but I just want to double check. Does this mean there's 1 left? Yeah. This is the last turn of Trick Room? Okay, that's fine. So that means I'm going to Draco. And yeah, I'm going to switch into a Lilligant here. Sun's going to be running out soon too, but that's okay. And I do have the Fire type attack on Salamence, obviously, so I can also kind of just nuke the Celesteela. Yeah, Marowak is going to protect, but that's fine. Because now he's kind of in an awkward position. Draco's just going to go into the protect. Let's see what Celesteela does here. Yep, goes for the Heavy Slam. Let's see onto what slot. Gonna target the Lilligant slot, which brings it under 50%. Sunlight does fade, and Trick Room expires, but that's fine with me. So this is an opportunity to... Do I want to switch out Drampa, or do I want to stay in? The one concern is Wide Guard on Celesteela, because if he doesn't have Wide Guard, I just win the game outright, pretty much. But if he does have Wide Guard, this makes things a little bit trickier. But I think I can just Draco Marowak again here, and Sleep Powder Celesteela, yeah. He actually switches out, okay. That's fine with me, because now I get to bring in, Torkoal. Like, effectively, I've won the Weather War. But, once again, if he has Wide Guard, that makes things a lot trickier. So let's see what Celesteela does here. Sleep Powder does connect this time around, which is very nice. So that's a big deal. He's gonna take his first turn of sleep, yep. And Draco's gonna go into the useless fairy typing. So if he takes a 3-turn sleep here, even if he has Wide Guard, I'm pretty much good. Like, I should just win the game outright. But even if he wakes up, then we'll see, because then it'll come down to, hitting a Sleep Powder again. But I'm definitely switching to Torkoal right now, and I'm gonna protect with Lilligant. Yeah. Ninetales in this format is, I think, still really solid. It's a Pokemon I want to do analysis on soon, actually. It's got access to, some pretty cool moves, especially Aura Veil, which is obviously one of the few, unique moves. Not only unique to it, but, not many Pokemon are able to use that move. So yeah, now I've got full weather control again. Feels like VGC 2016 with the Weather Wars, but he actually just goes for a Dazzling Gleam, okay. Yeah, makes sense, given that I had 2 Pokemon that probably could have been knocked out by it. Crits Torkoal there, and Celesteela stays asleep again. Okay. So, after you, Eruption is the obvious play. But he could have Wide Guard. So let's see if he Wide Guard wakes up, I Sleep Powder. Like, yeah, actually, I'd rather Sleep Powder, because you can't do much damage. So, there's no need to get the attack off first. So, I'm just going to Heat Wave here, and Sleep Powder. And if he stays asleep, then that's game over. Does wake up, though. Oh, but he goes for Protect instead. Okay, so I'm guessing he doesn't have Wide Guard, then. And Sleep Powder does connect here, so that should effectively end the game. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not relying on Sleep Powders necessarily, but I'm putting myself in positions. Basically, I don't like Sleep Powder where it's like, okay, I need to hit this, otherwise if I don't win the game, because that's only a 75% chance. Instead, I use it where it's like, okay, if my opponent doesn't have anything to deal with it, and if I, and I do hit it, then I'm in a really good position, otherwise I'm still, like, it's not the end of the world. So now, the question is whether I want to After You. Because he could try to protect Ninetales and try to knock out Lilligant. I think I would prefer to just Hidden Power Ice Ninetales, though. Oh, I should actually think this through. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking, right? If I try to After You Eruption, and he has Wide Guard... No, but he had to have used Wide Guard last turn if he had it. Like, that doesn't make sense otherwise. So I'm just gonna After You Eruption here. Never mind, I guess my opponent just, yeah. No, that's also interesting because Protect and Wide Guard are on the same counter. So, there was a chance he didn't get that off. Like, that was basically the odds of a double Protect, I believe. But he stays asleep. Huh, really interesting. I don't know, I think my opponent should have just been Wide Guarding instead of... Because you do have to risk that 1/3. I believe that's how it works. Like, you can Wide Guard and then you can Protect, but if you Protect and try to Wide Guard afterwards, that should be a 1/3 chance, if the mechanics stay the same. Seeing that, though, now I'm just gonna Eruption and Hidden Power Ice, because he probably doesn't know I have Hidden Power. So I was fearing that, like, yeah, if he Wide Guard and he woke up with Ninetales, that could have been bad, but now I'm just gonna outspeed it and knock it out. But, yeah, Hidden Power's gonna come out here. So the other play was to Hidden Power Ninetales, and just go for an attack, but the fear there is if Ninetales wakes up, gets the Protect off, and he goes for a Heavy Slam onto Lilligant. And I assumed he didn't have Wide Guard because he didn't go for it earlier and went for Protect instead, so maybe a poor assumption there. Marowak's gonna come back in, but Solomon should be able to close out the game at this rate. Regardless... Yeah, I'm not gonna switch in. I think the safest play is actually just to Protect and Sleep Powder. I don't care about hitting this or not. All I need is to save switching into Solomon's, and if I hit it, then I pretty much just win the game. But even if I don't hit it, like, I don't know. I don't think my opponent's... he doesn't go for the Wide Guard, though, which is a good play. So, reading into that. But yeah, I don't care whether Celestial's awake or not. I just need the Solomon's to come in for free. He actually does go for the Boomerang here. Sunlight fades as well. So, makes this next turn a little bit more interesting, because he could still theoretically wake up. I'm gonna Heat Wave then. I'm just waiting for the switch-ins for Solomon's, honestly. Like, I could switch into Mens now, but then if I lose Solomon's, it's actually pretty bad. So, I'm just gonna Heat Wave here, and Sleep Powder. Yeah. And he stays asleep. Okay. That should just close things out. Even if I miss this and miss Heat Wave, but that's fine. I end up connecting it. Like I said, don't like relying on Sleep Powders, but I'm not relying it right now in this point in the game. I'm just using it because there's no better play to make, I don't think. And I don't want to risk the switch-ins. I actually missed the Heat Wave on Celesteela. But Marowak does take some good damage there. Okay, well... I guess I'll just double Hidden Power into Marowak now. I just need Solomon's to come back out. And I've got a Drampa still too, and he stays asleep anyway. Probably going for a Wide Guard Protect because he's not faster than Lilligant. I don't even know if these Hidden Powers can knock out Marowak. He does wake up, that's fine. Shadow Bone. Targeting the Lilligant slot, maybe expecting a Protect or something. Or hoping, yeah, Light Torque would be useless. He actually faints from Light Torque too. Cool. So this game was definitely long and drawn out, but should be able to close things up at this point. Hidden Power getting some chip damage off. Yeah, I definitely could have played better, like, because if he wide guarded there, since he did get the wide guard off, and if he woke up with the low Ninetales, that would have made this game a lot trickier, I think. Because I had 2 dragon types in the back, and Speedball pointed out this team is relatively ice weak. But now I can just bring in Salamence. And I'm just gonna flamethrower. Yeah. And I'll switch out into Drompa so I have the sun up. And then he'll have to deal against 2 fire type Pokemon. Or 2 fire type attacks since Drompa has a fire type attack as well. But I think flamethrower from Mention here should just KO anyway. Just in case though. But yeah, I think that was the one turn I really could have played better. Otherwise, like, I'm relatively content with how the game went. Also, you'd imagine if I just hit that Sleep Powder turn 1, like, I would have been in such a good position. But, once again, you can't rely on Sleep Powder. Its accuracy is not very good, only 75%, and that is not an odd you like to hear in VGC, honestly. Like, 75% is pretty darn low. And Specs Flamethrower will finish up the job, we'll pick up the knockdown Celesteela, and we will pick up a win for our first game here, which was pretty fun, for sure, honestly. Very solid team for my opponent. Kind of scary looking, but I feel like I definitely had a slightly better matchup. Drompa was able to exert a lot of pressure. I think, if anything, my opponent made some really good switches, and I definitely could have called the switches better by going for, like, fire-type attacks on those predictions, but that ends up being one of the longer first games that we've played. Maybe the longest one yet. But very well played by my opponent, I think, and could have played out very differently, especially if that Ninetales woke up that turn, which is why I'm still kind of kicking myself for not hitting Power Icing. But, yeah. That was just, like, me assuming, oops. Oh, he went for Protect, he probably doesn't have Wide Guard, and instead, he actually ended up having it. So, you know, you always shouldn't discount information out until you've seen your opponent's full moveset, and I kind of got a little bit careless there. It's going to be Joy from Massachusetts for our second opponent of the day. Let's see what Joy's rocking. Joy's got a team of Torkoal, Oranguru, Tapu Koko, Tapu Lele, Garchomp, and Gastrodon. Very interesting team here. You've obviously got the Trick Room component with Torkoal and Gastrodon, and a very speedy component with Garchomp and the 2 Tapus. So, I actually still like Lilligant Torkoal here as a lead, I think. I don't want to go with my Trick Room mode here. I'm going to want Tapu Bulu, and I'm probably going to want Salamence. So I think I'm going to go Lilligant Torkoal, Tapu Bulu, and Salamence. Because Drompa here doesn't do too much, and it's weak to, you know, the fairies. Salamence at least exerts Intimidate, and can pick up a one-hit KO onto Garchomp, Torkoal, Gastrodon, presumably. So the Tapus are the main concern here, right? And typically my way to deal with like, Torkoal Lilligant exerts immense pressure against the Tapus, so I'm hoping I can maybe just take advantage of that outright. And if my opponent does lead Garchomp, of course I've got Hidden Power Ice. The other thing is he can't just Earthquake freely. I suppose if Oranguru had Telepathy, which I would think it would on that team composition, then he would be able to Earthquake. But other than that, there's no like Levitators or anything or Flying type Pokemon, so there's no free switch-ins. I suppose the other thing is if he has a Air Balloon, specifically on, I would guess, Tapu Koko. But let's see here. A pretty scary hybrid mix for my opponent, and Tapu Koko and Lele are 2 of the strongest Pokemon. Lele especially, I mean, in terms of offensive presence. Koko a little bit less offensively, but still a major threat at all points. Tapu Bulu actually has a pretty okay matchup against both of them, and mine's super defensive, so it could come into play. It's going to be Lele and Garchomp coming out, though. Okay. So, the scary thing about having Sleep Powder is my opponent could just switch in to Tapu Koko at any point. He can't Earthquake freely, though. And I'm gonna get a Drop Top. Psychic also just kind of nukes poor Torkoal. So ideally I want to eliminate Tapu Lele. I'm gonna go for the Sleep Powder onto it. I guess if he switches into Koko, then he won't have the Psychic boost. He could just protect Earthquake, which would be fine if I get this Heat Wave off, because then Garchomp's in HP Ice range. So I'm actually just going to attack first turn with both. But this hitting Sleep Powder here is a little bit more important than it normally is, because it's such an offensive lead for my opponent. This is where, like, if I went with the Oranguru lead, then I actually would have been in a better position. Sleep Powder does come out. It is able to connect with Lele. That's a big deal. Okay. That makes this game substantially... it's not one, and it's not significantly easier, I guess, but it does make it a much better position. Wow, he just Earthquaked into himself. Full YOLO. Huh, wonder if that means I can actually knock him out with Heat Wave here. Let's see. Heat Wave is going to be able to double connect, which is fantastic. yeah, my opponent basically helping me get the knockout, and I get the burn on guard shot. Wow. So, it's unfortunate RNG for me there, that's for sure. I don't think the burn matters too much because Hidden Power Ice should just knock out Garchomp anyway, in the range that it was, but it does make the match easier to play. But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think how I could have played better turn 1 there. Because basically what I was just really fearing was a Hidden Power Ice target as a Oranguru comes out. So that's actually still a little bit concerning. With the burn, I wonder, could it even maybe survive another Earthquake? So I could just After You, but I think I'd rather just Hidden Power Ice Garchomp here. And Heat Wave, yeah. If he knocks out Torkoal, that's fine, because that's a free switch into Salamence. And a Oranguru protects, okay. That works perfectly for me. But yeah, like, I don't know. Like I said, I hate relying on 75%, and this one felt like if I did miss that original Sleep Powder, I could have been in a really bad position. So, I think I should have led better, honestly. Because even though, you know, the game looks really good right now, honestly, one turn makes all the difference in VGC, and one play makes all the difference. So that could have played out very differently. It's going to be Torkoal coming in for my opponent for the last one, which is pretty reassuring to see as well. However, if my opponent sets up Trick Room, then I'm still kind of in a really bad position. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just going to Sleep Powder here, because if I do hit it, then I win the game. And if I don't hit it, I don't think that's game over necessarily yet, because I will be able to still get Heat Wave damage off. And Torkoal actually underspeeds Oranguru, so maybe I can just knock it out before he even instructs, but it does depend on the item on Oranguru. And Torkoal protects, perfect. The reason why I Sleep Powdered Oranguru is because I knew that Torkoal could protect, whereas Oranguru would have to rely on trying to wake up. I am getting very fortunate here. I am able to hit the Sleep Powder. But I don't think this one mattered as much as the first one. Like, even if I miss this one, basically, he's going for the Trick Room setup, right? So if he does get the Trick Room setup, that's fine, because my Torkoal hasn't taken any damage. And, I am min speed, so let's see. Well, now I do want to consider this. I could just Sleep Powder the Torkoal slot. I'm not sure if there's a better play, which is why I'm just considering going for it. Because if I switch into, like, I want to get, I don't want Mens to take any damage. Because I know a Draco would just knock out Torkoal. So the idea here is if I switch in Mens and it takes a Heat Wave, then it allows the Instruct combos to be a lot scarier. So here I'm just going to Sleep Powder Heat Wave. I don't care if I really hit this or not. And I do feel a little bit lucky, so I feel like, I'd honestly feel a little bit better if I missed it, but not the case. But it's one of those situations where it's like I just don't have any great switch-ins, and I'm not willing to make that switch-in right now. And it looks like his Torkoal's going to be min speed as well, and that Heat Wave actually does a ton of damage. So that makes me feel a little bit better, because it means, as both of his Pokemon also stay asleep, so yeah, that's pretty much game, I think. I don't know, I really don't like just using sleep-inducing moves, and this isn't a strategy where it's, like, necessarily reliable, because it's not a Moongus using Spore, but here in the late game, the idea is if I switch into Salamence, it takes a lot of damage, and I can't afford that. Tapu Bulu actually ends up being very useless against Torkoal. So, the idea is, okay, well, I need to figure out how to stall a Trick Room if it does go up, and if it doesn't go up, how do I make sure that I can still win the game? So now I'll just After You. I wonder if Eruption will knock out Oranguru. I feel like it's not, so I might still have to try to hit this. But yeah, as long as I hit one of the two, yeah, my opponent's just gonna forfeit there. So, not having any way to deal with Lilligant, you know, definitely helped me a little bit here from my opponent's end. But also got a little bit fortunate that I hit my Sleep Powders. But yeah, it's really scary, right? Because the beginning of the game looked really good. It's like, wow, I knocked out Tapu Lele, I got the sleep there. Garchomp also just fainted to it, hit him Power Ice. But the late game there still was really scary, especially if Oranguru was able to get the Trick Room up. But and we also speed tied with Torkoal there. It looked like, since mine was outspeeding him outside of Trick Room, you know. Yeah, and I'm min speed. I'm literally as slow as you can be for a level 50 Torkoal. Then he probably was as slow as possible as well. Meaning that it might have actually come down to a speed tie or two if Trick Room went up. But I don't know. So the thing is, once I was able to get that initial Heat Wave off Torkoal, I think Torkoal would have taken enough damage that he couldn't have combo to knock out my Salamence. So my Salamence would have been able to just come in and knock out Torkoal freely. And he didn't have a Citrus Berry and Oranguru either. So Heat Wave was the 3-hit knockout onto his Oranguru. So yeah. Definitely got a little bit fortunate in this episode, and I don't think I played, you know, perfectly. I don't know, I think that's what Lilligant Torkoal does. It's just like, it's a really strong lead, but it also just sometimes you gotta either rely on the 75% chances or you don't get any really great switch-ins. And this team definitely has weaknesses, obviously. I might adjust it as we go along, but definitely a really fun episode for you guys, and that first game was super long as well. So hope you guys enjoyed this one. As always, leave a like if you did. Go check out the Pelipper analysis if you have not already, and I'll see you guys soon. Alright, peace.